insurance companies. If you've been injured, I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA filing number 16-7969.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
And opening of sorts here, even though they've been running. In Laplace, and we are thrilled to be here. The cars are out on the lot. They're here in the showroom. It's a gorgeous new expanded showroom, and they've got 5 brands right here on one lot. They've got Chrysler, they got Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and of course Ford right next door. Just a short drive down from Baton Rouge. I was at the house this morning. I live in Baton Rouge proper, and I typed in the address. 50 minutes to come down here and get a great deal on a great car. So if you're in the area in Laplace and want to come by and say, hey, we'd really appreciate that. We're hanging out here in the showroom at Bayou Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. I've got some shirts, got some keychains, which is apropos of the location of today's show. We've got some cups and some koozies to give away as well. So we'd love to see you watching some ACC tournament hoops, and we'll certainly be locked in talking a bunch of things over the next 2 hours. Koki Riley is going to join us here in 15 minutes. As you're aware, well, I think you're aware, LSU was supposed to play North Dakota State at the Box in Game 2 of that midweek series at 1 o'clock today. They've moved that back to 4 o'clock, so Koki is going to be able to join us here in 15 minutes. He covers the Tigers for The Advocate. It's a What If Wednesday, so get your What Ifs into the Bayou Ford chat. We'll get to some of those. Nick Saban making some waves on Capitol Hill. We'll touch on that. Stefan Karasnik covers Mississippi State for the Jackson Clarion Ledger, and LSU and Mississippi State going to get real familiar with each other over the next 5 days. LSU and State will play up in Nashville in the SEC basketball tournament coming up tomorrow, and then a 3-game set to open conference play on the baseball side of things up at Dudy Nova Field. So we'll touch on all of that with Stefan Karasnik. Willie Gay is signed with the Saints. Ryan Ramczyk has had a contract restructure, so plenty in Saints land as well. So lock in with us here for the next couple of hours. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there in the studio, and we're thrilled to be with you here on this Wednesday. I want to open with LSU and North Dakota State from yesterday, Game 1 of this 2-game midweek set. Game that LSU did win 6-1, improving to 15-2 on the season. The loss dropped North Dakota State down to 3-12. As I mentioned as we were previewing the game yesterday, the game is not about North Dakota State and scouting them and what do they have. They're not good. It's a northern school that hasn't been able to practice. They've been on the road for a month, and they're 3-12. What is LSU doing to better itself, and how are they positioning themselves to start conference play up on Friday night? And the first thing we wanted to look at in the game yesterday was very obviously the deployment of Cade Anderson. What did they ask him to do? And I told you in no uncertain terms yesterday, I want Cade Anderson removed from this game pretty quickly because I want LSU's best available pitchers ready to go at some point in Starkville over a 3-game set. He's one of them. And what did we see? Well, it wasn't Cade Anderson's sharpest outing of the season. Far from it. Gave up a couple of hits and a run in the first inning. But he settled in, and he got through 2 2/3, and he was really kind of cruising along there after a hiccup in the first inning, and Jay Johnson came out and got him after 38 pitches. That was not because they felt that it was a good time to go to the bullpen. That was because they know that Cade Anderson is useful in Starkville at some point, and they want him available. I was thrilled to see Jay Johnson pop out of the dugout there in the top half of the 3rd inning to go get Cade Anderson. So we now know that the priority is not with Cade Anderson to make him go 6 or 7 innings on Tuesdays against Nichols and Northwestern and North Dakota State. The plan is to use him in a starting role there, to get him some pitches, to keep him sharp, and if there's a spot over the weekend, which to me kind of feels like it might be Saturday or Sunday, then they go to him. And if there's a situation on Sunday where you need to use Cade Anderson in a conference weekend for 71 pitches in relief because maybe Thatcher Hurd, whoever you go to, doesn't have it, or you play extra innings or whatever the case may be, he's not going to start the Tuesday game, and that's fine with me because those 30 are weighted more heavily by the RPI and are more productive for your team to win. And quite frankly, you need your best guys on the weekend as opposed to in the midweek. So that was number one. He wasn't the sharpest yesterday, but getting him out of the game shows your intent. With Cade Anderson, you're going to have that guy ready to go on the weekend in some sort of capacity. If we want to stay on the mound, I thought that the spot they brought Justin Lohr into was very interesting. Fidel Ulloa had kind of lost command a little bit, had walked a couple, had hit a batter, and the bases were loaded. Left-hander coming up for North Dakota State. He goes to Justin Lohr, and that's going to be, I think, his role on this team. I was curious where Justin Lohr would kind of fit in, and we don't know for sure yet, but it's just kind of the way that it feels right now, is that Justin Lohr is going to be a guy who is going to be asked to get left-handers out more so than he's going to be asked to get the last 3 outs of a game or to go 4 or 5 innings. Now, he did go 2 1/3 yesterday, and he did throw 39 pitches, so it's not as if he's a one-inning guy, but I think left-handers is where he's most effective. And the count ran full, and the bases were loaded, and you start the merry-go-round, and everybody's on the move, and Justin Lohr had the confidence against a left-handed hitter to spin that slider that started on the plate and moved off the plate, and he got to swing and miss. That's the strength of Justin Lohr. And the pitch he threw on 3-2 was not a strike, but it tunneled like a strike. It looked like it was going to be a fastball in the outer half. It swept off the plate. The left-hander waved at it. That is Justin Lohr's bread and butter. And he was able to get through 2 more innings after that, only allowing 1 hit and striking out 2 more. That was really great work. The highlight on the mound yesterday was absolutely Javen Coleman, who looked – honestly, to me, as good as I've seen him look since probably Eugene, when he was a key piece in that regional up there 3 years ago in Paul Maneri's last regional at LSU. Of course, we know that he had the Tommy John, and we know that he came back last year at the end, and LSU started him in a game in Omaha. He didn't throw a lot of strikes that day, but he's been in bigger spots certainly than he was yesterday. But he got a punch-out on a fastball at 95 miles an hour. He was blowing it by guys just with the country hardball. He didn't use the breaking ball a ton, but it was effective. And when the dust had settled on his outing, 3 innings, 1 hit, 5 strikeouts, and 1 walk. He threw 44 pitches, and 27 of them were for strikes. I've got a really good handle, I think, on a lot of guys' roles on this team. I can tell you what they want from Holman, and I can tell you what they want from Jump and Hurd. That's very obvious. I know where Gavin Guidry is generally going to plug in. Same with Nate Ackenhausen. I just told you what I think about what they'll do with Justin Lohr, and I feel like we're going to get a big dose of what Cade Anderson's role is going to be over the next 2 or 3 weeks as we see how they handle midweek to weekend. I'm not as confident that I know exactly where Javen Coleman fits in, but I know he found an extra gear up from 91, 92, 295 with the fastball yesterday, and I liked what I saw from him a lot. And what have I now been chanting weekly for the last 4 weeks? I don't necessarily care about exactly when people are scheduled to pitch. That's for Jay and Nate Yeski to figure out based on matchups and rest and situation and all that. What I do know is you've got to have a lot of them. And Javen Coleman is another one, and I think that is a guy that showed me something yesterday, and I hope to see a little bit more of that moving forward. The other note, I think 2 of them offensively for LSU. Well, maybe 3. I'll talk about 3. Jared Jones goes opposite field with the home run. That'll catch the headlines. We know how strong he is, and when guys elevate pitches, he generally is going to hit them a very long way. And I'm okay with some swing and miss with Jared Jones, which you're going to get as long as there's some big, big, big swings out of his bat, and that's what we've seen from him early on in the year. So no breaking news there. What was new yesterday was Brady Neal starting in right field. And I have not seen a lot of that. We saw some of Brady Neal at third base earlier in the fall. We saw some of him at second base in the fall. And, of course, we've seen him catching a little bit. But he's not going to be a guy. He's not going to catch 3 games a week, I don't think. I don't think you're going to see him catch on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. I think that you're going to see Milazzo and Travinsky to try to lessen the stress on Brady Neal's back. So if you can get him some innings in right field, if Jake Brown's not quite swinging it the way that you thought he might, if you don't get what you hope from Ashton Larson, and maybe you want a little bit more veteran presence in there. Not that Brady Neal's played a lot more than them, but he is older. Well, he's not even older. He's been in college longer. He's the same age as those guys. But he is a good hitter, and he's hit well this year, and yesterday goes 3 for 3 and really barreled a couple of balls up, drove in 2 runs. So I was happy to see Brady Neal kind of showing he could do something a little bit differently, showed off the arm in right field as well, and we know that he's in there because he's a really good hitter, and that will allow you to get Brady Neal's bat in the lineup, to get Alex Milazzo's defense in the lineup, and to get Hayden Travinski in the lineup at DH if you want to do that. That's another option that Jay Johnson has with this team. Last note, not on a pitching perspective and not from an offensive perspective, but from a defensive perspective, I really enjoyed the 2 double plays that Michael Braswell and Stephen Milam turned yesterday. They looked really good. Braswell is pretty smooth defensively. I don't know if he's the quickest or the rangiest shortstop I've ever seen. He's probably a league average SEC shortstop. And I'll tell you this. I've said it a few times. I said it in the fall, and I'm not afraid at all to say it right now. Stephen Milam had a bad fall defensively, a bad one. He was kicking ground balls, struggling to stay on his feet. It looked just absolutely disjointed at times defensively in the fall, and he wasn't very good on offense either, and we've chronicled this. But he's worked his way into the lineup. He has played very good defense thus far. I thought that ball that he made a nice play going to his left yesterday and threw it to first base, and I thought Jared Jones should have caught the baseball, and he didn't. But Milam looks really comfortable turning double plays, and he's looked pretty good ranging both ways defensively early on at second base. So I like where Stephen Milam is defensively. If you didn't see anything in the fall and you've only seen him in the spring, you'd go, well, he's a good defensive player, and I would absolutely not argue with that. But I saw it in the fall, and it was not very good. So it's been encouraging to see that, and those guys look to be pretty comfortable around the bag at second base, which is huge. If you're going to be a really good pitching team and a really good defensive team, which LSU can be, then you're really difficult. Run prevention is the term that I hear the Chicago Cubs use all the time, and it's something they really leaned into in that 2016 year where they won the World Series. They were one of the best defensive teams in the league. When you have a really good defensive team and you couple that with a team that misses a lot of bats and gets a lot of weak contact, run prevention becomes a strength of your team. And I think LSU is well on its way to being that type of baseball team here in 2024, as it were. So Cokie Riley, we'll talk a little bit more with him coming up here in a couple of minutes after this timeout. He is at the box, and they'll get things cranked up here at 4 o'clock today. So if you had tickets and knew you weren't going to be able to make it because it was a 1 o'clock game, maybe things change for you a little bit at 4 o'clock. They do for me personally, because I was going to be here. Well, I was going to be here anyway doing the show, but I wouldn't be able to get back to Baton Rouge by the time the game ended if it was a 1 o'clock game. Now 4 o'clock, I'm thinking I'll be cruising into the box there probably about second inning if I do things correctly. We're thrilled to be here at Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Bayou Ford right next door. They got great specials here at Bayou CDJR. They got new 2023 Chrysler 300S, $10,000 off of MSRP here. New 2023 Jeep Gladiator, just $39,995. New 2023 Ram 1500 SCA trucks are $22,500 off of MSRP, and 0% APR for 72 months on all new 24 Ram Bighorns. Really not a long drive from Baton Rouge or New Orleans, where they do a lot of their business. Get on down here to LaPlace and check us out at Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. We'll take a time out. We'll check in with Cokie Riley of The Advocate coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years of redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Look, bathroom, you spend a lot of time there. And I know there are probably a lot of ladies who are not thrilled with the way that the men treat the bathroom. That's certainly been the case in my home. How about a brand new, redesigned, remodeled, spacious bathroom? If you want that, David Duvall and his team can absolutely do it from the bottom up. Soup to nuts, as David Duvall and his team like to say. Have them come out, do that free consultation. When they do, they'll tell you what they can do for you and at what cost, and they've got financing options available. It could be a full-scale bathroom remodel and redesign. It could be something as simple as a tub-to-shower conversion, but you won't know what they can do for you unless you go to the website and give my guy David Duvall a call. So go to OneBathAndClosets.com, check out pictures of their great work, view the testimonials from their satisfied clients, and request that free consultation and have David Duvall and his team start that process today. It's all there at OneBathAndClosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Audit at GuaranteeMedia.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
It's the details that make the difference between good enough and simply the best. At Skag Power Equipment, the difference is in designing lawnmowers with your convenience and comfort in mind. At Skag, we believe that quality and substance matter, and that you'll appreciate the attention to detail and craftsmanship we put into every single product. Thick steel and heavy-duty components provide you with unmatched reliability and performance. Skag, simply the best.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction.
Championship week is here. Come on by and join us at the Queen Casino at the DraftKings Sportsbook Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's live at lunch, live at the DraftKings Sportsbook at the Queen Casino on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We're here at the grand opening, Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Laplace. Having a lot of fun down here in Laplace. If you're in the area, come on by and see us. Got a bunch of hats and cups and keychains, shirts to give away. So if you're in the area, we'd love to see you here at the grand reopening of Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Our baseball breakdowns all year long are brought to you by Pluckers Wing Bar Nicholson, just south of campus, and Bluebonnet in front of the Mall of Louisiana. We love talking baseball with Koki Riley, the LSU beat reporter for The Advocate. He joins us now. Koki, how are you?
Doing great. How's it going?
Going quite well. A few things that I want to get to before we start to preview today's game out at the box, which has been moved back to 4 o'clock. I want to start with the offense because we know that they did win games in Houston, but there were a couple where the offense wasn't exactly awesome, and certainly in 2 of the games over the weekend it wasn't great, specifically on Sunday. Did Jay seem concerned about that at all?
Jay is, I don't want to say he's like rarely concerned or never concerned about his team. I mean, he's always looking for ways to improve. So it's the roster, whether it's the guys on his team already. But I know he thinks it's a work in progress. I know that because, I mean, he sort of said yesterday, which I thought was a little bit interesting, that, you know, everything that's happened up to this point of the season, none of it was a real shock to him. And that includes the pitching as well. But, you know, I think it's just like the ups and downs we've seen from this offense. And I think the offense has been a little bit rockier than I even imagined. I think the ups and downs that we've seen, I think a lot of it, I mean, it should be expected at least to a degree because of the amount of guys they had to replace, the younger players they're relying on, the fact that, again, like, I mean, how many, you know, day in and day out guys did they bring back from last year's lineup? Like maybe one or two. So, it's you know, it was almost a complete overhaul of the lineup, and with a lot of the fact that you're replacing a lot of those veterans with the younger guys, you were going to get some growing pains of that. So again, I do think it should be better than what it is right now and what we've seen so far this season. There have been some worrying numbers, particularly with the lack of power that they've had to start the season, but at the same time, I wouldn't be pressing like the panic button like you would at, say, Florida, for example. So, with the struggles they're having at the pitching staff. So, you know, I think overall, like, there's no reason to say that they can't, you know, turn this around at least somewhat before conference play. Once conference play starts, I should say.
What did you think of Brady Neal being in right field to play yesterday?
I thought it was fun. I thought it was interesting. I think it's definitely an option for them to, you know, start to explore moving forward, given the fact that, you know, you need his bat line as much as possible. He's one of the better hitters. He's one of the better hitters for the team so far at the start of the season. He's had a good start, not a great start. He acknowledged that yesterday, and I would pretty much agree with that. Yeah, you just need his bat line as much as possible. And if we can get him out there in right field, instead of having to sit once every 3 days on these weekend series, maybe just not do it every weekend, but it's just something. It's definitely an option that, you know, you can use to sort of try to maximize what you have with that offense. So yeah, and you know, it's not like, again, they've had a lot of struggles with the outfield offense. So just to get a productive bat out there to pair with, I guess, Stravinsky without having to, you know, wear down Neal too much, I think that's a pretty good solution.
Cade Anderson came out of the game yesterday pretty quickly, more quickly than he had in other midweek starts. I'll let you try to just guess here because it's not something that Jay's gonna reveal to you. But do you think they've pulled him in case they need long relief over the weekend in Starkville? Or do you think that's going to be one of their high leverage relievers in a big SEC game?
Yeah, I mean, Jay pretty much said it actually, that they took him out so he could be available for this weekend, and he more or less confirmed it. And I mean, I asked him the question, and he's like, "What do you think?" You know, so it was like a very, you know, rhetorical, you know, playful answer, and he basically said that, like, you know, he's one of our best pitchers. Want to have one of our best pitchers available for, you know, for once SEC play starts. So I think the logic is quite sound, and he's going to be available for this weekend, just based on pitch counts and what Jay said. So I don't think he'll start, but you know, if he's definitely could be an option to start eventually if they need him to, and at the very least, he's like an elite long relief option for them, and you know, maybe he can even get his velocity up and be an even more dangerous pitcher for them in a short spurt. So yeah, I mean, I think it's probably the right move to do this, and yeah, it's going to bring a really interesting angle to what this bullpen is going to look like this coming weekend.
What pitchers do you expect to see today in a Wednesday game with Friday in Starkville coming up?
Yeah, really good question. Because I don't think we're 100% sure. Because Javen Coleman, who I figured probably would have been the Wednesday starter, I wasn't 100% sure of that though. He pitched yesterday actually on the bullpen, threw really well. So I'm just trying to think of the guys who haven't really thrown a lot yet. I mean, Christian Little is kind of the first name that pops to my head as a potential option. I don't think Griffin Herring has thrown a ton in recent games. Yeah, I mean, there's also guys like Aiden Moffitt and Cam Johnson who have pitched a ton who have some potential. So I think you're going to see like those 4 names are, I guess, names to look out for. And I mean, I'd have to open up the inning sheet right now, but but like Christian Little, if I'd like make a random guess, he would be the guy. But I don't feel great about who they're going to pitch start in this game, because it will be somebody new who we haven't seen start yet for them this season.
Yeah, and you'd figure you may see 5 or 6 pitchers in the game today. All right, how much time have you spent in Starkville in your life?
Ooh, once for the football this past year. So that's it.
Look, I'll tell you this. In my experience, and my listeners know this because I've said it a bunch of times, Starkville is too small for a football weekend to me. There's nowhere to park. There's nowhere to eat. There's nowhere to stay. There's too many people coming to a spot that can't accommodate all of those people. For a baseball weekend, I think it's awesome because you've taken the crowd down from 55,000 to 11,000, and all of a sudden the town kind of really comes to life. And I have not seen the renovated stadium, but I think it's one of the best places to go in all the league to check out a baseball weekend. So I'm curious to see your thoughts on it when we get back. But for you, offensively, do you think LSU is ready to go on the road in league play?
I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
And I think Mississippi State's a good test for this because they played much better baseball recently. They actually lost last night to break a 9-game winning streak, so they have been perfect. But at the same time, their pitching staff has looked better, at least the weekend guys, the supposed weekend guys. And then offensively, I mean, they provide enough of a challenge for LSU's pitching to say that the games could be close if, Mississippi State's pitching is actually better. So I think LSU should win the series, and I think they will win the series. But I don't think it's like a guaranteed sweep, and maybe the same way that we thought during the preseason. I mean, it'll be really interesting. Like Durangelo Diente, I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Sainja is how that is. That's Sainja, yeah.
Okay, yeah. He's going to be really fun to watch. So he's the switch pitcher on Mississippi State's team. If your listeners, if there's a listener too who's not familiar with him, he throws with his left hand and his right hand. It's very entertaining to watch. He was here in Baton Rouge last year. Didn't throw very well, but still very entertaining. So I'm looking forward to watching him in particular, I guess. And then Dakota Jordan, their outfielder, has been one of the best hitters in the SEC to start this season. And he's going to be a challenge for LSU starters. And I think it's just a good, this series is a good tune-up for what the next 4 weeks are going to be after that, because then it kind of becomes a gauntlet of opponents, right? It's Florida at home, it's Arkansas on the road, which is a massive series because that could be number 1 and number 2 in the nation going up against each other. There's a decent chance that that's the case. And then it's Vanderbilt here, and then it's Tennessee on the road. So that's 4 top 10 teams in 4 weeks. That might not be 4 top 10 teams in 4 weeks after what Florida State just did to Florida, but you get what I'm saying. So
yeah, it's definitely 4 top 10 teams. It's gonna be something else. My last question for you here, Koki, and we'll see when the lineups come out here in 90 minutes or so. But Paxton Kling had a nice start to the year with a 500 OBP through a few weeks, but yesterday was not very good. Struck out 3 times, was 0 for 4, and the batting average is down to 235. Is that a guy that you expect to see continuing at the top of the order, or do they think they shake it up again today?
They've done a lot of shaking it up this season, so I wouldn't be surprised if they shook it up and moved him. I would be, and I wouldn't be shocked if they just gave him a breather before they start conference play. And I think some people might interpret it, they're benching Paxton Kling. I don't think that's totally true. I just feel like if this team's going to win games, they need Paxton Kling to contribute, and he can't contribute if he's not in the lineup. There's one thing if you just sit him a day to give him a breather, which I think could very well happen. But it's a whole other thing to just bench the guy entirely. I don't think that's going to happen. And it was sort of the same thing with Thatcher Hurd and the pitching staff last year. They needed Thatcher Hurd to be good, and they needed to sort of ride through and let him sort of work through some of his issues, and it ended up working out for them. They won the College World Series. So I think you might see a similar tactic ployed with a guy like Kling or a guy like Neal or a guy like Jared Jones, but Kling out of the 3 of those guys is probably struggling the most. So he just needs to he needs to find a way to just generate better contact. I think he's had a decent eye for pitches he's gotten on base the whole time, as you mentioned. But, again, he's just not driving the ball at all. So you just need that to change. And, that's not going to change if he's sitting on the bench.
He is Koki Riley, LSU beat reporter for The Advocate. He'll be out there at the box for a 4 o'clock first pitch. Enjoy the baseball and safe travels up to Starkville, Koki. We'll talk next week.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Baseball breakdowns all year long brought to you by Pluckers. Get on by for some Breggie's Creole Crush. New flavor of wings over there. Contributing by Alex Bregman, a Houston Astro great and former Tiger. We appreciate Pluckers bringing those baseball breakdowns each and every day. When we come back, it's What If Wednesday. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions. You can find them at avssla.com. So easy. We were moving, and I have no ability to be handy in the least. Bo Wegman's our on-site producer here. He'll probably laugh at me. I can't do any of this stuff. But the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions can. So they came to my old house. They took all the TVs down and the mounts. They went to the new house. They put all the TVs and the mounts up and hooked up the entire audio system because I don't know how to do any of that, and they handled all of it. It's a local company right there based in Baton Rouge, and the cell phone number I'm giving you here is not just some random minion out and about on the streets. It's the owner of the company, and that's Mitchell Fisher, who dealt with us every single step of the way. His number is 225-439-7920, 225-439-7920, whether it's your home security solution, your surround sound, your audio hookups, or all your television situations. He can handle it. The folks at Audio Video Security Solutions can do it. Check them out online at avssla.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045espn.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
It's the details that make the difference between good enough and simply the best. At Skag Power Equipment, the difference is in designing lawnmowers with your convenience and comfort in mind. At Skag, we believe that quality and substance matter, and that you'll appreciate the attention to detail and craftsmanship we put into every single product. Thick steel and heavy-duty components provide you with unmatched reliability and performance. Skag, simply the best.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart...
So join us for Wednesday's AFR presented by Pluckers. We are recapping LSU North Dakota State from the box, as well as giving you live updates from the box. We'll also update the latest in NFL free agency. It's Wednesday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We're here inside the brand new showroom here at Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, just off of I-10 on Belterre in Laplace, right between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. I know obviously a large listening base there in Baton Rouge, but certainly those of you who listen from the Big Easy each and every day, another easy drive to come right here and get a great deal on a great car. Don't want to make the drive without some information? That's okay. BayouCDJR.com has got the entire inventory online. You can certainly check that out if you're in the area here in Laplace. Go on by and see us. I got cups and koozies and hats and shirts, and we're having a great time here at the brand spanking new Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram here in Laplace. It's Wednesday just after 1:30. That means it's time for What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question, what if?
All right, first one here. What if you could have free flights forever or a free personal chauffeur forever?
Well, that comes down to like convenience or like significant pricing, because flights are expensive. If you want to take a trip to Europe, like that's going to cost a lot. You want to get up to Chicago and check the Cubs out, like the flights are a pretty sizable expense on that trip. However, the chauffeur, one, you can get some things done while you're on the road, never having to worry about looking at your phone and driving. Two, you don't have to pay for an Uber anymore, and you can use that every single day. You know what? I'm going to go for the chauffeur. I'm going to take the transportation every single day. I don't fly that much, and right now I don't have enough like massively disposable income to be jet setting because it's free and then spend time in hotels and paying for everything. I got to deal with education funds and mortgages and stuff. So I'm going to go with the chauffeur and take the convenience of that, although the sounding of free flights forever is very, very appealing.
What if you could reverse a past LSU football recruiting loss?
Oh, man. There have been some that have been quite cranky. I didn't like Landon Collins, obviously, the way that one went down. It was really tough to lose Cam Robinson, big day one left tackle that went to Alabama. Those are both Alabama losses there. I can't think of like a really high-profile quarterback that LSU was right there on that they didn't get, and that would be like the biggest deal. That ended up being a star somewhere else. I can't. That's not like coming directly to mind immediately. And there have been some recently that I didn't love a ton that A&M was involved in, but I'll go Cam Robinson, just to have a 3-year first-round left tackle from the state of Louisiana that would not have been playing for the other team in Alabama. I think that's the one that comes directly to mind. I know there are some older people that wanted, Warwick Dunn or some of those guys, but I would. I mean, certainly Ed Reed as well from New Orleans. I would go with Cam Robinson of recent memory.
Mentioning a quarterback, though, they did obviously miss out on Dak Prescott, who ended up being pretty good at Mississippi State.
That's a great point, Beck. That's a very, very well thought out. It's hard to come up with every single one off the top of your head immediately, but Dak Prescott does make a lot of sense because LSU was struggling at the position there at that point in time, and he was a pretty good one.
All right, what if you could drive away with any car on the Bayou CDJR lot?
Ooh, I already have that one figured out because I did take a little look around. And while there are a lot of appealing cars and trucks and SUVs on the lot here, the Jeep Grand Wagoneer that I just walked by in the showroom is awesome. It's big, it is clean, it looks real comfortable. It's got the screens in the back. It's awesome. I was talking to the ownership group here about it, and they've sold a good bit of them. It's actually the only one they've got left here on the lot. I don't know anyone with a Grand Wagoneer, and I've never been in a Grand Wagoneer, but I walked by that, and it was one of the ones, you're walking in the car showroom, and you look and you're like, I want to take a look at this. Like, that was the one for me, and Bo Wegman's sitting here on site nodding his head as well. I think you could both get us both interested in the Grand Wagoneer, because it's a fine car that's sitting here in the showroom.
All right, what if you got 10 swings at the Island Green number 17 at TBC Sawgrass this afternoon?
Ooh, I don't know what the wind's doing. Assuming it's the normal Florida breeze, about a 140-yard shot. With no water involved, that is a very manageable shot for your average hacker like me. I can hit the green from 140 yards away. The water makes it visually intimidating. I'm going to be a little egotistical, a little bit arrogant, and I'm going to say I would hit the green 6 out of 10. I feel like with a pitching wedge, I would keep it dry 6 out of 10. How do you feel about that, Beck?
I feel pretty good about that. I think you're certainly a pretty good golfer. I think you don't give yourself enough credit, but I would be able to at least. I played a replica hole of it one time. I hit the green that time, so I do have a little bit of confidence in my abilities there. But I'd probably say maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5, just because it's just such a nerve-wracking shot.
So the best story about that is Golf Digest. I want to say it may have been back in the 90s, but they were on a quest to find the worst avid golfer in America, and they had a criteria. You had to play like at least 30 rounds a year, and you can't just pull like somebody off the street who's never had a golf club. They're talking about someone who actually plays a good amount of golf, not a guy that grabs a club for a work scramble once every year. And they went to TPC Sawgrass and had these guys play in a kind of a tournament to see who was the worst. And they got to 17, and they had one guy who simply could not hit the green. And he ended up, because he couldn't hit the green, putting the golf ball all the way around the lake down the walkway to finish the hole, because he was incapable of hitting the ball airborne 140 yards and keeping it on
I think
green.
there's video of this, isn't there?
I think the video's on YouTube. Yeah, I think there's video of it on YouTube. It was for a Golf Digest story, but there's a video of it. That's humiliating. And I'll be quite honest, because there's some things that I'm awful at water sports. And I've got some friends that love to wakeboard and slalom and ski, and I'm terrible at it. I've gotten up on skis one time. I've never gotten up on a slalom. I don't know how to wakeboard. I'm terrible at it, and so I just don't do it. People that are that bad at golf that continue to go out there twice a month and can't get it airborne, how is that fun? That has always baffled me. I mean, I get it's fellowship with the guys. Maybe the weather's good. You drink a cold beer or two, but man, take up fishing. At least you can throw the line in the water.
All right, moving on here. If McNeese and LSU play in the NIT? I was just assuming McNeese doesn't win their conference tournament. So let's say they lose in their championship game. LSU, McNeese in the NIT.
I'll pass. That's just an absolute no-win for LSU and Matt McMahon. It just is. And I honestly believe, well, I don't know. I think Will Wade does like LSU. I believe that he does pull for LSU. I know for a fact he's got a lot of good friends in Baton Rouge. And I think he would, all things being equal, he would like LSU to be good. I don't know that he wouldn't really relish in beating Scott Woodward in the NIT with McNeese. I don't know that, but obviously the guy that fires you, that's got to be something. So I personally, Hunt Palmer doesn't want any part of that. I don't want Matt McMahon, who's trying to run a program here, to have to play McNeese with the old coach who's 30-3 or whatever they are. I will completely pass on that.
All right, last one here. This one maybe follows up with that one. What if you were in charge of the Louisville basketball coaching search?
That's interesting, because North Carolina and Duke, now they're different because their coaches didn't get fired, but they just went to they didn't do a coaching search. And Kansas hadn't been in the market in forever, and Kentucky hasn't been in the market forever. And honestly, I would put the Louisville job up with those jobs. They don't have necessarily the national cachet that Duke has, but in terms of investment and resources and fan interest, and there is great tradition there. There's a recent national championship. That is such a great job. And none of the great jobs have gone hiring. I would absolutely call Nate Oates and Will Wade. Louisville has hired recently, Bobby Petrino and some guys that didn't necessarily have the most sparkling reputation. So I would call those two for sure. I'd have to think about who else may be available that would want one out. I would call Bruce Pearl if I was them. I realize I'm sticking around the SEC. But I'm trying to think about other guys that may be around. But yeah, I'm curious to see what one of these big-time schools can do if they actually open up a coaching search. Kenny Payne was a weak hire. I know he went there and played there. I know he was on Calipari's bench. He wasn't a head coach. I go get a guy that's won a bunch. You have that ability if you're Louisville. So I'm curious to see how that works, and I would be ecstatic if they hired either Will Wade or Nate Oates to either weaken Bama or get Will Wade out of the SEC. That would make me a happy dude. So we'll see what happens up there at Louisville. We got one more segment to go. Nick Saban's talking a lot, and I've got kind of a take on this that I haven't heard anybody necessarily bring up, and we'll do that to close out hour number one.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $17,500 off new 23 1500 Bighorn trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $17,500 off new Ram 1500 trucks. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
It's the details that make the difference between good enough and simply the best. At Skag Power Equipment, the difference is in designing lawnmowers with your convenience and comfort in mind. At Skag, we believe that quality and substance matter, and that you'll appreciate the attention to detail and craftsmanship we put into every single product. Thick steel and heavy-duty components provide you with unmatched reliability and performance. Skag, simply the best.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
On Tuesday's OTB, what does LSU baseball need to do in their final tune-up for SEC play? Plus, the latest from LSU Tiger Spring football and talking on Saints with Nick Underhill. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So Nick Saban was on Capitol Hill, and I think most of you that are listening that are plugged into sports understand that he's been up there kind of expressing his displeasure with the state of college football. And I think there are a lot of fans that agree with Nick Saban, and I've heard a lot of that this is ridiculous, it's pay for play, it's the wild, wild west, it's impossible for coaches, these kids don't deserve to get that kind of money coming out of high school, and the transfer portal's out of control, and most fans feel that way. And then most people that I follow on Twitter that are sports media people are going, well, tough. Like, the coaches make $1 bajillion, and the athletic departments make $1 bajillion, and the television product is worth $1 bajillion, and the players are the ones that create all that, so they should get their piece of the pie. And tough luck, Nick Saban. You've made millions and millions and millions of dollars on this deal. And those are the two most prevailing thoughts that I've seen. And I've kind of, y'all know that I've ridden the fence on this a little bit because I do recognize how difficult this is to maintain a program. And I do realize that young people often make very poor decisions and are a little bit immature, and that some of this may not be warranted. But I also see the side of the value that they've created. I have a hard time looking at collegiate athletes and saying, guess what? At 18, if you star in a movie, you get rich. At 18, you want to go fight for your country and die, you can go ahead and do it. At 18, if you want to go on YouTube and make videos that get bajillions of views, you can get really rich on that. At 18, you want to go in the Olympics, win gold, you can do that. But if you play football, no money for you. That's really hard for me to make that distinction. Like, in all walks of life except collegiate athletics, basically, you create a bunch of value, you can capitalize on it. But at the same time, I do see the other side of, this is creating a culture that is volatile here, and it may have gone a little bit too far. But this is where I ultimately land on this, and it is a little bit of fence sitting, but I've taken a lot of time to really think about this. I believe that the reason we as fans may wrestle with this sometimes is because even though we knew that money was very much involved, whether it was in the recruiting process or whatever the case may be, we believed that the student athletes that put on our colors did that because they love the school and they want to represent the university. That may have been fantasy land, but I do believe in some instances, and maybe in a lot of instances, it was very much true. Guys from our state that wanted to play for our school. If you talk about professional athletics, a lot of those guys don't choose where they play. They get selected and they got to go. In the NBA, that happens, and they can't wait to get out of wherever they are. And that's professional sports. In college, you chose to come here. You chose to represent us. We walked the same hallways you have. There was a connectivity with it that I don't know exists in professional athletics. And that hit home with certainly me, and I think a lot of people in collegiate athletics. And now, whether or not, or it was true to an extent, but how true that really was, we feel a long way away from that now. Because Nick Saban is telling us that every single player, I'm not trying not to be hyperbolic, is telling us that a lot of players, certainly more than ever, are walking in saying, I need to play now and I need to get this much money. That's what he's saying. And so while I have a hard time telling collegiate student athletes, you can't make any money, I also am missing the ability to say, man, those guys fight for Old State U, and those days are gone because you've got professional sports. And I guess that was inevitable when this much money came through. This much money didn't exist in the 70s. So it felt a certain way. Now we just don't necessarily have that. I think that's hard for a lot of collegiate sports fans. I think it just is. And if you're winning, all this kind of goes away. I don't think Georgia fights this as bad. LSU's baseball program doesn't fight this as bad because everything's so good. The second things start to wobble, those conversations start being had, and it's just not quite what we're used to. And I think that's the most uncomfortable thing for me. But they'll keep playing, and a new group of guys will keep putting on purple and gold in every sport every year, and I'm still going to pull for them. So we'll just have to get right on over it and let the people who are in charge of making these decisions make these decisions. Hour one coming to a close here. We're in Laplace at Bayou Chrysler Dodge, a Jeep Ram just off I-10 on Belterre in Laplace, right between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. Hope you can come on by and see us. We'll pause for Sports Center. When we come back, we'll talk some LSU baseball on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Saban office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Saban have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
He's here. Anyone want a Coors Light?
Oh shoot, I forgot to play the song. I got a guy who can fix this.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $17,500 off new 23 1500 Bighorn trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $17,500 off new Ram 1500 trucks. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Breaking news on reigning AL Cy Young winner Garrett Cole. The Yankees ace has been shut down, scheduled to visit Dr. Neil Elatrosh in Los Angeles for further testing on his right elbow. He is expected to start the season on the injured list. The Chargers releasing receiver Mike Williams, saving $20 million against the cap. The team's now cap compliant for when the new league year starts in 1 hour. NBA, the Clippers holding their collective breath when it comes to their best player. All-star forward Kawhi Leonard, who has been pretty healthy this season, left last night's game with back spasms. First Take host, Stephen A. Smith.
Here we go again. Not just with him, but the Clippers. Because I got news for you. The Clippers can win the chip. They got a shot, though. They really, really do. Until you see that. And then you say, no, they don't. Because you just don't believe that there's any way in hell that a series, one series after another after another after another is going to go through, and Kawhi Leonard ain't going to get it.
LA is vying for the top spot in the West. ESPN BenBet currently has the Clippers with the third best odds to win the NBA title.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming up Thursday with free agency in full effect. I'll tell you which teams have improved themselves the most this offseason. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show from Laplace. We're here at Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, just off of I-10 on Belterre, right between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. If you're in the area, come on by and see us. We're watching some hoops. Got some cups, koozies, hats, shirts, keychains to give away. Gorgeous new showroom here, Bayou CDJR. Been open about a month after being closed for 2 years after Hurricane Ida rolled through here. So we're fired up to be here on this Wednesday. Also fired up, talk to our friend Stefan Karasnik from the Jackson, Clarion Ledger. LSU and Mississippi State going to get to know each other real well over the next 5 days. Got a basketball game in Nashville between Tigers and Bulldogs, and then a 3-game set to open up SEC baseball. So we bring on Stefan to chat with us about it all. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Always appreciate some of your time. Always gracious with it. Let's talk basketball first. LSU and Mississippi State playing tomorrow in Nashville, a noon tip-off Central Time. How important is this game for Mississippi State?
It gets as big as it gets, right? I mean, it's a game for Mississippi State where if you win, you probably solidify your chances of making the NCAA tournament, and if you lose, you really put it in jeopardy, and you're going into Sunday unsure of where your fate lies. Right, it's a huge game for State. It's kind of a similar situation that they were in last year. They came in, they were in that 8-9 game, and they were playing against Florida, and it felt like, okay, if you win this, you probably make it, and if you lose, you're out. And they ended up winning that game against Florida, and they played, in that first 4 in Dayton. So it really was, make or break. And I think they're in a similar spot this year, where if they lose, they probably they're on the edge, right? I think last year if they would have lost, they're definitely out. I think this year you're kind of on the edge if you lose. But if you win, you're feeling real good about yourself. You get that 20th win, you get a win in the conference tournament, and you're feeling a lot better going to Sunday. So I think, in terms of conference tournament games, and, for conference, it's going to get multi-bids, right? I mean, there's conferences where, one team gets in and every game is so crucial, right? I think in the SEC tournament, you don't necessarily have that as much because, some teams know that they're in and maybe they don't, treat the conference tournament like, a big game. But I think for Mississippi State, for the stakes, it doesn't get any higher.
Look, Mississippi State dusted LSU back 3 weeks ago. 87-67 was the final. It never really felt that close. I was in the PMAC that night. The story of that game was probably Josh Hubbard. We talked about him the Friday before that game, and you said he's a star. He was every bit that night, 32 points. Should LSU expect more of the same tomorrow?
I think so. That game included, the stretch that he's had here to close out the season in the last 4 or 5 games, averaging about 28 points or so. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? For a freshman to be doing the things he's doing, at this time of the year where every game has been so important, to show up like that. I mean, he's the real deal, man. We saw a glimpse of it, in the summer when Mississippi State made their trip to Portugal. They did one of those foreign tours, and you're streaming those games and you're thinking, all right, like this guy, has a chance to be decent, right? We thought at least, what he would add to this Mississippi State team is a 3-point threat that they didn't really have last season. They were the worst, 3-point shooting team in the country. So you bring in a guy like Hubbard, like at least you have something on the perimeter to kind of help with what you're trying to do inside with Tolu Smith. He's turned out to be so much more than that. I mean, the dude's the real deal. He's a bucket getter. He's one of the best pure scorers probably the conference has, right now, at least at the guard position. And I think, LSU fans, they got the first-hand look at it of when he gets hot, we compare him to a microwave here. When he gets hot, it's really hard to slow him down.
My dad was shocked because I was sitting next to him at this game, and I don't know if it was the 5th three or the 6th three that Hubbard hit, but it was one of the last ones, and I said, we're leaving. I could not sit there and watch it anymore, and we missed the last 4 minutes of the game because I just wasn't going to watch him rain in threes from 25 feet.
You missed him hitting a couple more if you left the last 4 minutes.
Good. That's the point. As far as option 2 for this Mississippi State goes after Hubbard, who do you think that they'll lean on?
They have to establish Tolu Smith inside early. I think, he's the guy who's a, first-team All-SEC selection because of what he can do in the interior. But, you look at this, they've had a 4-game winning streak, but specifically the last 2 games of this, or a 4-game losing streak, I should say. But the last 2 games specifically, he didn't score a field goal until the second half in either of those games. So that's not really a recipe for success for them. I think, Hubbard scoring 28 is good for them. But, if he scores 20, but you're getting, 10 first-half points from Tolu Smith, I think you're in a better spot, right? You got to get him established early to just open up the rest of that offense and open up easier looks for Hubbard. He's had to knock down a lot of contested shots, and at some point they're not going to fall. And where are you going to lean on? You have to have that interior threat. So I would look, early in this game, they're going to go to Tolu Smith and try to get him going a bit.
How do you feel about Mississippi State's chances, should they get into the NCAA tournament, about potentially winning a game or 2?
I think they're a team that other teams don't want to face. I think when you look at what Jans does, with his teams, historically on the defensive end, it's, they have the chance to really make a game ugly and slow a team down and kind of challenge a team. You look at, the interior threats they have with Tolu Smith and Cam Matthews and Jimmy Bell, you look at a team, let's say they're kind of in that 9-10 seed range. If they're a 9 seed, and they make it into the second round and they're playing a Purdue or something like that, and you're looking at Zach Edey, having to go against a guy like Tolu Smith or Jimmy Bell or Cam Matthews on the interior, it's going to be tough, right? It's going to muddy things. So I think State's, they're tough out if they make it, and it's kind of funny to have this conversation of they could be a team that makes a run to the Sweet 16. They could also not make it, right? It depends on which team shows up, but I think that at their best with the way they like to play, it's a tough matchup for everyone.
Talking with Stefan Karasnik, covers Mississippi State for the Clarion Ledger. LSU and Mississippi State tomorrow at noon from Nashville. Then fast forward another day, and LSU and Mississippi State will take on start a 3-game series at Duty Noble Field in Starkville. We know what the last 2 seasons have been for this Mississippi State baseball program. They've been bad, and this year there's a lot of heat. I think that's pretty obvious from the outside. It appears that they've cleaned up some of the pitching early. Does it look that way to you?
Yeah, and I think the one thing that I've been telling a lot of people is, I understand that pitching playing well against some of the non-conference opponents that they faced is what it is, right? I mean, they could get shelled in SEC play when the level of competition ramps up, right? But I think what stands out to me is you're looking at a team that last year, whether they were playing against LSU or they were playing against VMI in the non-conference, they were walking, and they were walking a lot of batters. They were committing errors, and it's been a lot cleaner, this year. They're not walking guys. They're attacking the zone, and they've given up some home runs, and they've given up some runs in some games, and that'll happen. And Lamonis, himself has said, he's not upset about, guys giving up home runs or something like that. He's more upset when a guy, gives up a home run and turns around and walks the next guy, right? That's been the biggest thing is they're commanding the zone, and I think that's where you've seen, the biggest improvement since they brought in Justin Parker to be their pitching coach.
I'll go ahead and fast forward to my Friday show. I'm going to suggest that LSU be extremely careful, beyond careful with Dakota Jordan. I'm not giving him anything for 3 days. Why would anyone pitch to Dakota Jordan at this point would be the question I would ask to you.
Yeah, Evansville figured it out, but it took them until the third game to figure it out, where they were like, why don't we just intentionally walk this guy 3 times? I mean, 5 straight games with the home run. I mean, the dude's hitting the ball as well as it gets. And I will say on a serious note, too, of, the guy behind him, Hunter Hines, is hitting only, 280 this year. I mean, he's a guy that, last year, his entire tenure at Mississippi State showed that he can hit 20 home runs in a season, right? He's a power threat. He's a good, left-handed bat. But the thing is, he's not playing well right now, so why wouldn't you walk Dakota Jordan? I mean, it happened last night. Mississippi State's down 1 in the 9th inning against South Alabama. And, it's a decent South Alabama team, and they're playing in Biloxi. And, it is what it is, the result. But you get to the 9th inning, you're down 1, there's a runner on second. Well, they walk Dakota Jordan, and Hunter Hines comes up and hits the ground ball to first. I mean, until Hines can kind of step up and be the threat that he's shown he can be the last couple of seasons, I wouldn't throw a single pitch to Dakota Jordan. I'm
with you. I mean, I know Hines is great, but I'm not dealing with Jordan at this point. He is just too good right now. It'll be a fun one at the Dude over the weekend. Stefan, we appreciate some time, man.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on again.
He's Stefan Karasnik, covers Mississippi State for the Clarion Ledger, football, basketball, baseball. Whenever we want to talk state, we always find our guy Stefan. He always brings the good stuff. Looking at the ACC tournament right now to get you caught up on some scores. Wake Forest is beating Notre Dame by 11. Wake Forest, a 5 seed in the ACC. Remember, LSU beat Wake Forest back early in this season, and Wake's had a good year, went 11-9 in the ACC, and looked to be a potential NCAA tournament team. Efton Reed playing for them is a guy that's made 3 stops in his college basketball career, was first at LSU, then at Gonzaga, now finds himself at Wake, and may find himself in the NCAA tournament. McNeese and Nichols will play a little bit later today. That's going to be a game on ESPN2. And the SEC gets underway. It'll be Arkansas and Vanderbilt tonight, and then you'll see the nightcap, which is really late, in my opinion. To start at 9 o'clock Eastern time just seems like it's needless, but they will do that up in Nashville between the 14 seed Missouri, and they will take on, I believe, Ole Miss is who they see tonight, if memory serves. I was waiting for the crawl to go right there on the bottom, and it just refused to continue to go, but I think that's what you're looking at tonight up in Nashville. When we come back, there is some Saints news. They've made a free agent signing on defense. They've restructured another contract to make some room on the cap. It's Missouri and Georgia coming up tonight. We'll talk Saints coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Love telling you about my friends at Boudreaux's Electric. Neil and Melissa have been running things for 40 years. Now they're on to the 2nd generation there, but the service remains the same. And I can promise you this, you get the folks at Boudreaux's Electric out there, they're going to do a great job of assessing your needs, looking at your square footage, whether it's a commercial property or a residence. They're going to determine what you want to have happen when that power does fail, whether you want to power everything, which is possible, or you want to just make sure there are some select things that are taken care of, fridge, your air conditioning, freezer, that kind of thing. And once they know what you want, they'll get you the Generac generator that you need to make that happen. They'll send a full-time employee out to install that generator with the highest quality in copper and tubing and wires. They'll do most of that installation underground so that it looks nice outside of your home or your business, and that gives you the peace of mind to know if the power fails, whether it's a hurricane that blows through, an afternoon storm or an ice storm like we had in January, you're not going to lose power at your home or your business. Boudreaux's Electric got a location in the 985 there in Napoleonville, new location in Gonzales as well. You can find them online or give them a phone call. It is Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
It's the details that make the difference between good enough and simply the best. At Skag Power Equipment, the difference is in designing lawnmowers with your convenience and comfort in mind. At Skag, we believe that quality and substance matter, and that you'll appreciate the attention to detail and craftsmanship we put into every single product. Thick steel and heavy-duty components provide you with unmatched reliability and performance.
Championship week is here. Come on by and join us at the Queen Casino at the DraftKings Sportsbook Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's live at lunch, live at the DraftKings Sportsbook at the Queen Casino on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We are here in Laplace at Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Of course, right next to Bayou Ford, so 5 brands on one lot. I told the story at the top of the show, but it's worth repeating. The ownership group here, Ben Gagne, John LeBlanc, Leah Gagne, they purchased this business on a Thursday, and Hurricane Ida came in on a Sunday and wiped this place out. And it's been 2+ years since that happened. And just within the last month, they have opened their doors at this gorgeous new showroom here on Belterre in Laplace. It is spacious, it is comfortable, it is clean, and it's a great experience whether you're waiting on your car to get serviced or you're in the process of purchasing a vehicle. And they've got some fantastic deals out on the lot for their grand opening right now. 0% APR for 72 months on all new 24 Ram Bighorns. Also got new 2023 Jeep Gladiators, only $39,995. They've also got some great service specials for you here. $50 off of brake service if you get an AC system check, just $25. And look, 10% off of all service is their grand opening special here at Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, and we appreciate them for having us out here on this lovely Wednesday here in Laplace. If you're in the area, come on by. We got a lot of stuff to give away for you. We're watching some hoops, Notre Dame and Wake, and we're certainly having some fun talking some sports. I'd like to talk a little Saints here, as there's been some news as the NFL keeps shuffling the deck with free agency, as they do this time of year. Nick Underhill reporting that the Saints have agreed to terms with former Chiefs linebacker Willie Gay. Willie Gay is going to sign a 1-year deal. It's worth up to $5 million. It's a $3 million contract right now, but there's some incentives that are in there. And this is essentially the replacement for Zach Bond. We know the story with Zach Bond. The Saints used a draft pick on him, and it just never really worked out. The only times you really saw Zach Bond flash as a member of the New Orleans Saints were rushing the passer. and he did that a little bit this year. But that was not primarily what the Saints asked him to do. And it just didn't work. I have a lot of confidence that Zach Bond will be a productive player in Philadelphia. I also feel like, based on what they're asking in Dennis Allen's defense of the linebacking core, that Willie Gay is going to be a bit of an upgrade here. Now, Willie Gay was a second-round pick out of Mississippi State. I'll get to that story here briefly, but we're just talking NFL. He's been with Kansas City for 4 years. He's 26 years old, and the stats are not eye-popping. 1 sack as a rookie in 2020, half a sack in 2021, 2.5 in 2022, and 1 last season. As far as tackles go, his high was 2 years ago. That was an 88 tackle season, 9 of them for losses. For Kansas City this past year, he played about 65% of their snaps. So not an every down linebacker, but a productive one. He's a very good athlete. He can play sideline to sideline, and I think is a better fit for this Saints defense than what Zach Bond was, who kind of seemed to be like a fish out of water in New Orleans. I'll just be honest. I don't think that's Zach Bond's fault. And I think it's a little bit the Saints' fault, but the Saints have an idea of what they want that linebacker spot to do, and I think Willie Gay is a better fit there. We know what Demario Davis has been. I have my doubts about whether he'll be exactly that at the end of 2 years from now with his 2-year contract extension, but today we know what he is, and that's very, very good. And you feel like Pete Werner is a solid inside backer. I think you add Willie Gay to this mix as a replacement for Zach Bond, and all of a sudden you've strengthened your team. I think this is a quality move. Willie Gay is a guy that we've known forever around Baton Rouge because he's a product of the state of Mississippi. He was very much within LSU's crosshairs on the recruiting trail. He's committed to Ole Miss, then decided he didn't want to go to Ole Miss. LSU thought they were very much in it on signing day. He ends up signing with Mississippi State. He ends up being allegedly one of the guys who talked and was on the back end of the Hugh Freeze situation and got Ole Miss in trouble and all that kind of stuff. None of that matters to the Saints, but he's just a guy that we've been very familiar with, and he's been a part of a great organization that this year fielded one of the best defenses in the NFL. I like this a lot. This is a guy who is young at 26, who is cheap on a 1-year deal. I'm good with that. As I look at these Saints deals, I continue to evaluate age and price. This checks both boxes. Now, you need him to be productive as probably your third backer, but I think this one really works. I like it. The other piece of Saints news that we got was a restructuring of Ryan Ramczyk's deal. The biggest thing for me on this deal is not the conversion into a signing bonus. It's not moving the cap room, which is also vital. This, to me, looks like, again, from the outside, that Ryan Ramczyk is going to feel healthy enough to play next season. I don't know how close he was to calling it a career. I don't know. But that option was on the table, and it wasn't something that was just made up out of thin air. This knee issue has gone on for a long time, relatively speaking, in NFL times. And so for the Saints to look at him after he's taken some time to get the procedure done and to start a rehab process here in the spring, it feels like they think that he's going to be a part of this team for 2 years. I'm not the salary cap guru. I'm going off of New Orleans.football's Nick Underhill's reporting here. He was due $17 million as in non-guaranteed base salary this season. And combine that with the signing bonus proration for the cap hit, it's more than $27 million. Nick Underhill reports that Ryan Ramczyk is going to agree to play on the league minimum, which is $1.21 million with a player with his experience level and his tenure in the league, and they were going to convert $6.5 million of that original salary into guarantees. This is very difficult to understand for Joe football fan who, quite frankly, doesn't care. I want to see touchdowns and sacks. I don't really care how you convert the numbers into bonuses and roster bonuses and spreading them out over years. That is difficult for me to follow, and I don't really care about it. But the fact of the matter is that there's still some things we're not sure about with this restructure. What it does seem to indicate is that Ramczyk is not about to pick up the phone and say, I can't go anymore. And if that was the case, it does change what the Saints want to do as far as free agency and in the draft, because you have a decision to make with Trevor Penning, which probably is not going to be made until deep into training camp because he's going to be on the team. You have a decision to make with Andrews Pete, whether you're going to move forward with him at left tackle or if he's going to be a guy that may have to move to right tackle because Ramchik's not there. You have a decision to make with Ramchik. The interior feels fairly settled. What is James Hurst's situation, we'll kind of see. But you are going to have to make some real decisions on tackle. And to me, it feels like the Saints have made the decision in March. Things change. In March, that Ryan Ramczyk is the right tackle. Does that change where you go with your first-round draft pick smack dab in the middle of round 1? Does that mean maybe not a tackle? I don't think I'm ready to quite go there yet because we don't know that Andrews Pete is the long-term answer, and I feel confident saying that Ryan Ramczyk is not the long-term answer. But this then goes back to my point that I've been making. I believe Dennis Allen is looking at this as a situation, how do I save my job? That means I've got to win this year in 2024. If Ramczyk's the right tackle in 2024, I don't need to address that. Well, is that the healthiest thing for the organization? I don't know. I just think that's the way the Saints are going to operate. So if you don't think, if they've decided, okay, Ramczyk's the right tackle in 2024, and Pete's the left tackle in 2024, and if Penning helps, great, but I'm not counting on that, we'll see. I would say they don't go tackle in the first round. I don't think they're drafting a player in the first round to sit. And if you want to tell me, well, they think that Olu Fashanu is better at left tackle than Andrews Pete, and they move Andrews Pete into an interior spot or a swing spot, okay, like that, I don't have to agree or disagree, but it is a possibility. But I just continue to think, based on the situation that we all understand, these first 2 years under Dennis Allen have not been up to standard, and if there's another substandard year, usually after 3 of those in the NFL, you don't get another shot. Why am I drafting somebody to pick up where Ryan Ramczyk leaves off in a year or 2? I'm not. So to me, feels like they may be making some decisions at tackle, the first being Ryan Ramczyk, and then maybe edge rusher or wide receiver or tight end becomes the immediate need in the first round. We're reading tea leaves. That's what we're going to do here, for the next month and a half until we get this draft. That's about a month now, until we get the draft rolling. It's interesting to consider because usually with the Saints, we've only looked at, well, they really need that one thing. They really need that one thing. I can look at this Saints roster right now and say, well, they need about 6 things. I feel like right tackle has been put to bed today. Things change, but that's the way it feels to me right now. If you're looking for our Saints coverage here on the Hunt Palmer Show, you can always find it on YouTube at Hunt on Saints. Really appreciate it if you'd like, subscribe, rate, and review. Send your comments. Get all our Saints coverage all year long right to your homepage on YouTube. That is Hunt on Saints. We're here in Laplace having a good old time at Bayou CDJR, adjacent to Bayou Ford, which we've been telling you about for years here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. If you're in the area, come on by. If you'd like to take a look at the inventory, you can do it at BayouCDJR.com. That's Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Still got plenty to talk about. LSU baseball getting underway with the second of its 2-game set against North Dakota State, getting ready for SEC play coming up on Friday. That game will start about 90 minutes from right now at 4 o'clock out at Alex Box Stadium. I can't speak to the weather at Alex Box Stadium right now because we are in Laplace, but it is gorgeous right here on this Wednesday afternoon. So hopefully the same holds true out at Alex Box Stadium and they can get this game in without a hitch. We'll talk about that coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Platinum Window Tint. PlatinumWindowTintLLC.com is the website. It's a great new website. I really invite you to go check them out at PlatinumWindowTintLLC.com. They've got so many services that they offer at Platinum Window Tint. They, of course, will tint your automobile windows. That will help protect the interior of your car from harmful sunlight. It will also keep your car a little bit more manageable and comfortable when you get into it after a long day here in the summer. I also tell you about their ceramic coating, which is such an awesome feature that they will offer for your automobiles. It can protect your automobile from some of the things that are bound to happen with an automobile, whether it's bird droppings whether it is objects that may ding or scratch your car. The ceramic coating can help that. It's a permanent wax, creating that hydrophobic coat. It's stain-proof. It enhances the look and gloss of your car, and it protects that vehicle, as I was talking about. It's a great option over at Platinum Window Tint. You can check out their gallery of work, some of their services, and, of course, request that quote at PlatinumWindowTintLLC.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
So join us for Wednesday's AFR presented by Pluckers. We are recapping LSU North Dakota State from the box, as well as giving you live updates from the box. We'll also update the latest in NFL free agency. It's Wednesday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I want to kind of double dip in this segment here. I'll spend the first part talking about LSU's baseball game today with North Dakota State, and then I want to talk a little bit about LSU's basketball game with Mississippi State tomorrow, because it'll start at noon, an hour before we go on the air. It'll probably end right in the middle of our show, and we'll have kind of a de facto post-game show there in the second hour for LSU basketball. But I want to start with baseball. because that's today. A couple things. LSU, from a pitching perspective, is more than fine today to get through 9 innings of baseball. Guys that LSU could absolutely go to for an inning or two today, or even a little bit more in some of these cases. Sam Dutton, Aiden Moffin, Griffin Herring, Will Helmers, Christian Little, Micah Buckton, Cam Johnson, Nick Bronzini, DJ Primo. I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 arms there. So they could technically all go an inning. A lot of teams wouldn't really necessarily want to play 2 midweek games heading into a conference weekend. I don't know if that's Jay's perfect preference, but LSU got through yesterday's game just using 4 guys. They are 4 guys that I would expect could have a role on the weekend with Cade Anderson, Fidel Ulloa, Justin Lohr, Chaven Coleman. All of those guys threw over 28 pitches yesterday, so they're not available, and you certainly won't see LSU's, of course, weekend arms. And I guess Gavin Guidry can give you a little bit today as well, or Nate Ackenhausen, but maybe not. If you're getting ready for Friday and want to have those guys really ready to go. So in any event, any way you want to slice it, LSU's got tons of arms to go to today. From a lineup perspective, curious to see if Brady Neal's back in the outfield today, and curious to see if Paxton Kling is leading off again today. I got texted yesterday by a buddy who said, can Paxton Kling hit leadoff? And I said, technically, he's got every skill and is perfect for that. He runs great. He's a really talented bat-to-ball player. He's got the ability to hit you a double or a homer. His on-base was really good early in the season. Like, if you're looking for a skill set of the modern leadoff man, which is not necessarily Kenny Lofton, he's got it all. However, it's difficult not to look up and see an 0-for-4 with 3 strikeout day and realize that his batting average has sunk down to 235 before we got into conference play. Batting average isn't the end-all be-all. You got to get on base. You got to draw some walks, get hit by some pitches, and Kling has done that. So I'm not going to boil it all down to a 235 batting average, but you need him to get on base a little bit more if he's going to be the guy, like yesterday, hitting directly in front of Tommy White, hitting 2 in front of Jerry Jones and Stephen Milam and Travinsky. Like, you've got to set the table a little bit better than he's doing with a 235 batting average. And so we were talking to Cokie Riley in the first segment and in the first hour, and he said, look, I wouldn't be surprised if he got a day off today. And I wouldn't either. If they wanted to put Mac Bingham out there in center field and let Kling rest for a day and then get him refocused for Friday night in Starkville, or maybe he hits 6th or 7th, or maybe he hits 1st, that wouldn't shock me at all. If they put him right back in the leadoff spot today and said, hey, go hit against a bad team, that wouldn't shock me either. But I'm curious to see how Jay handles that. So those 2 things, I think, for me, from an offensive perspective, are interesting, or the one thing, 2 things, Brady Neal and Paxton Kling, those are interesting. I told you before the season started that for LSU to be as good as they could be this year in baseball, the sophomore class offensively would have to play closer to their ceiling than their floor. And right now I think Paxton Kling is playing closer to his floor. I think Brady Neal is playing closer to his stealing. I think Jared Jones is playing closer to his ceiling. And I think Ethan Fry was getting there, and then obviously had to come out of the lineup because of the injury, and we'll see when he comes back. I could not have quite forecasted Stephen Milam's hot start, and then I think you're going to get more from some veteran guys like White and Bingham. And so I'm not too concerned with that. And I think Braswell's given you about what he's going to give you, certainly Milazzo as well. But you need those sophomores, and Paxton Kling is maybe chief among them at this point in terms of the talent level and what you can expect. I know people will get sick and tired of hearing talent, talent, talent. Go do it, and I get that. It's early, and Paxton Kling does have a lot of ability. I'm curious to see how they handle that coming up in the game today. If you want to listen to it, you can. Today you can catch it on Eagle 98.1, our sister station. Pregame will fire up at 3:30. I'd imagine Chris is already in Nashville, so it's probably Doug and Buzzy, but don't quote me on that. Just kind of see who pops up on the microphone when pregame starts up at 3:30. They'll have first pitch at 4. For those that missed that, first pitch supposed to be at 1 o'clock today, but they bumped it back to 4, I believe, to deal with weather, but I haven't seen much of that, so we'll just have to see. But LSU, North Dakota State, final non-conference tune-up for the Tigers. That baseball breakdown is brought to you by Pluckers. Let's talk LSU Mississippi State basketball because they will start before our show cranks up tomorrow. And this is a game I think, well, certainly I think if LSU wants to host an NIT game, LSU needs to win the game. Ole Miss is right there in front of you, and you got to hope that A&M beats Ole Miss. And then if A&M beats Ole Miss is out of the tournament and hopefully falls behind you. But even if they don't, maybe A&M can play their way into the tournament with 2 wins on on Thursday and Friday, maybe even on Saturday of this tournament. If they can win a couple of games, they've got a lot of quad one wins and a really good non-conference strength of schedule, and they're right there on the bubble. If A&M gets in to the NCAA tournament, LSU will host an NIT game because Ole Miss and LSU would then be the two highest net-rated SEC teams that don't qualify for the NCAA tournament. But if you want to just pass Ole Miss and not worry about whether or not A&M makes it, then you need to win this game against Mississippi State. Mississippi State hammered LSU in the PMAC. I talked about this on yesterday's show, but Tyrell Ward went out of the game and only played 12 minutes, scored 7 points, and was a non-factor in the second half because he wasn't out there. LSU shot it horrendously from three-point range at 3 of 17. And you had an absolute heater by Josh Hubbard. Now, Josh Hubbard has had heaters against multiple teams. He's averaging 28 a game over the last couple of weeks. So it's not like it was some sort of massive statistical anomaly that allowed Josh Hubbard to make a bunch of threes. He's done that all year. You're going to have to go out there and guard him. But for LSU, it keeps coming back to this, and I've said it a few times, and I just can't believe this is what I'm boiling things down to. But Trey Hannibal's got to play great for LSU to play great. And when he goes out there in a home game against Mississippi State and turns the ball over 7 times and only dishes out 2 assists and takes 2 ill-advised threes, it hurts. And then when you couple that with Tyrell Ward not playing and LSU shooting 3 of 17 from three-point range and Josh Hubbard going for 32 points, that recipe equals disaster. And I could have told you that entering the game against Mississippi State. The good news is, while I do believe that Josh Hubbard's going to score some points tomorrow, I also think that Trey Hannibal's going to play better. And I also think that Tyrell Ward is going to stay healthy. And I also think that LSU is not going to go 3 of 17 from three-point range for 18%. So I do give LSU a chance to compete in this game. I was told, I rarely say that, but I was told that LSU feels pretty good about this matchup. Now, if they reproduce some of the statistical metrics that you saw in this game, you're going to get a similar result. But they've got to play better, and they can play with this team. It's 2 old teams. I do think the matchup is a little bit better for Will Baker than what we saw in Arkansas with Trevor Brazile, where he really, really struggled. Baker did make 4 of his 7 field goal attempts in the game against Mississippi State back in the PMAC, finished with 9 points in 25 minutes. And then you got to have Jordan Wright be a little bit more active on offense. He only shot 2 threes and 7 field goals in the game and finished with 14 points. LSU's going to have to play really well. Tyrell Ward's going to have to make 3 or 4 threes. Hannibal's going to have 6 or 7 assists and 2 turnovers or so. Wright's going to need to score 16 or 18 points. And you're going to have to make some plays down the stretch in a close game. LSU is not, in my opinion, going to beat Ole Miss by 20 points. Mississippi State by 20 points. That's not going to happen. But I think LSU can get in a close game with them and beat them. Now, LSU is kind of playing for some NIT stuff, and Mississippi State is very much playing to get into the NCAA tournament. I think they're in right now, and Stefan agreed earlier in this hour at the top, but they may have some work to do. It's possible, depending on bid stealing and conference tournaments over the next 4 days and what happens around them in the net. But they're in right now, and they can really solidify things with a win or two in Nashville. LSU's playing for some different stuff. I would have liked to see a different matchup. Quite frankly, I don't know that I want to play Florida or Kentucky, but Mississippi State's good, and they showed that in the PMAC. It's going to be difficult for LSU to win the game, but I do think LSU should play better and should have a chance to win this game. If they do, you've got a real chance of hosting an NIT game come next week. That's our look at LSU and Mississippi State in basketball. I'll give you a pick when we come back from this timeout on how I think it goes tomorrow. I've been kind of in tune with the basketball team over the last couple of months. I'll give you a pick. We'll play some Take It or Leave It, and that'll do it. Reminder here, we are from Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram down in Belterre in LaPlace. We got great new vehicle specials here at Bayou CDJR. They've got a new 2023 Chrysler 300S, $10,000 off MSRP. New 2023 Jeep Gladiator, just $39,995. 0 APR in 72 months on an all-new 24 Ram Bighorn. The lot is gorgeous and brand new. They've got a ton of great cars on it. It's got a great showroom that we're seated in, and thrilled to be coming to you from Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. 5 brands on one lot. And a reminder, they're going to do right by you. Take a time out, come back and close it up. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
ESPN Bet is now live in Louisiana. As the official sportsbook of ESPN, ESPN Bet's the only place to find daily exclusives and offers with your favorite ESPN personalities and shows. You can sign up today. New users get $100 in bonus bets for making any sportsbook bet. You can find all your favorite markets and bets like in-game wagering, cross-sport parlays, teasers, and all the props that you can handle. That's ESPN Bet. You can download today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with the Bears Jake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Saban office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Saban have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today.
Tune-up for SEC play, plus the latest from LSU Tiger Spring football and Talking Orange Saints with Nick Underhill. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
A major shout out to the Bayou Automotive Group for having us here today, which has been awesome. It's a gorgeous new facility here that houses the Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram inventory. Bayou Ford right next door. And the team here has done such an incredible job over the last 2+ years of working in less than ideal circumstances. When you lose an entire building it's tough to operate, but they've been sharing desks and sharing workspaces and offices to make this thing go over the last couple of years. Now they're thrilled to have moved into this awesome facility here in Laplace on Belterre. It is gorgeous. So I really invite those of you listening in the Baton Rouge area or in the New Orleans area to come on and make this short drive. I said this at the top of the show, but I put the address for this dealership in from my house in Baton Rouge, and it was 50 minutes. That drive is nothing when you're talking about getting a great deal on a new car, and they've got 5 brands right here on this lot. So get on by Bayou Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Bayou Ford here in Laplace, and we appreciate them and all their hospitality here on this gorgeous Wednesday in the Bayou parishes. All right, back. Let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. Peyton Manning will join Mike Tirico on NBC's Olympics coverage this summer. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. Look, I'm a big Olympics fan. I love watching a lot of the obscure sports. I don't. There are some stuff in the Olympic I'm not just dying to watch, but like I love watching the swimming. I love watching the volleyball, both the indoor and the beach. I love watching the track, obviously. It's fun. I like watching handball. I sometimes even get into like those long distance rowing competitions that are kind of fun. But look, it's about entertainment, and Peyton Manning brings entertainment. At this point, like I don't even think of Peyton Manning as like the quarterback. I think of Peyton Manning as a guy who's an entertainer. He's on Monday Night Football interviewing celebrities and guests, and they have some fun with it while they talk about football. He's hosted Saturday Night Live, and like I don't think he's going to get on there and try to really break down the intricacies of the javelin throw. I think he's going to be on there to do some interviews, to provide some humor and some competitive insight, and I think that'll be great. I will definitely lock into to the Olympics.
Ole Miss has signed Chris Beard to a contract extension. Beard will coach the Rebels for the next 2 seasons. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. I don't think that Chris Beard's going to be in Oxford very long. And I thought it was interesting in listening to the guys at Ole Miss that cover the team that I think do a great job, Neil McCready and Chase Parham with their podcast. And they seem to think, I don't think they know, but I think they think that Ole Miss has made the decision from a booster collective standpoint that they are going to spend the vast majority of their dollars on football transfers. Not high school seniors, not baseball players, not basketball players. Not to suggest they won't spend any, or that these two guys know exactly where every dollar and cent goes, but they think that that's where the commitment's going to be. Because Ole Miss knows it can't compete on a macro level with Texas or A&M or some of those fan bases. They just can't. But they can dump all their money into one thing and make it work, and it looks like it's working in football. And if Chris Beard gets wind of that, and Louisville or Indiana or one of these schools comes calling, see you. Like, I think he's right on out of there. Home has already come calling for Chris Beard, and he messed that up. So I think the next best thing is going to be the next thing, and I think it's not in Oxford, Mississippi. So I think that's a great effort there by Keith Carter to make that work, but I don't think it happens.
All right, last one here. Arkansas and Vanderbilt will open the SEC tournament at 6 o'clock. Stack's last stand. I want to first say that I did not write this because I do believe that he will be returning next year. They got a big win over Florida last week. Take it or leave it.
I think that this will be Stack's last stand. I will take it. I think they will lose to Arkansas, who we saw back last week is playing some decent basketball at this point. It's not the season they wanted to have, but they're better than Vanderbilt. I know that it is in Nashville, so there may be 10 or 12 Vanderbilt fans there. I don't think it's going to go so hot. I don't expect that to be a very I don't expect today to be a very boisterous crowd up there in Nashville. I think Arkansas will win, and I think by the time I am off the air on Friday, not tomorrow, but off the air on Friday, Stack is without a job back.
Nope.
That's the new terms of the agreement.
Incorrect.
I think you're incorrect. So we'll just see. This one we won't have to wait a month and a half to figure out. We just have to wait 48 hours, and we'll see by 3 o'clock on Friday if Vanderbilt has, in fact, moved on. Louisville did today, and I think that Vanderbilt is hot on their heels there. That'll do it for Take It or Leave It. I got to give you a basketball pick for tomorrow. LSU, Mississippi State, noon from Nashville. I've been pretty good with my thoughts on LSU basketball, and I want to be optimistic on this game tomorrow because I think LSU is playing fairly well, but I think Mississippi State is better, and they've got a lot on the line tomorrow. I think their coach is very good. They've got a veteran team, and I did not like what I saw on the PMAC, so I've got Mississippi State by 10 tomorrow. I think LSU sticks in it early, but late I think Mississippi State kind of gets away and puts LSU away. I hope that I'm dead wrong, but I do believe that even though LSU, I pick them to lose tomorrow, I think that still puts them right there in the mix for the NIT, and I think they've got a chance to make it there. I realize that none of y'all get super stoked to talk about the NIT, and I get that in a big way, but that's what we've got here, so that's what we're doing. I've got Mississippi State beating LSU tomorrow. Either way, we'll be talking about it on tomorrow's show. They will tip at noon. Game should end sometime around 2:10 or so, and that gives us about 45 minutes to break it down on tomorrow's show, so very much looking forward to doing that either way. Thanks again so much to the crew here at Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. If you're in the area, come on by. They are open until 7 o'clock tonight and would love to see you. Gordy Rush is going to come by here and do a little remote broadcast for us and let you know all the specials that they've got going here. I read through them throughout the show. I can promise you this, here at Bayou Automotive, they're going to do right by you. Thanks so much to Ben Gagné, Leah Gagné, John LeBlanc for having us down here in Laplace. If you missed any of the show, you can always catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. All of our shows are listed there every single day. It's Off the Bench, it's Live at Lunch, Hunt Palmer Show, and After Further Review. You can also catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your podcasts. You can certainly find us. And we always invite you to check us out on YouTube. For your Saints coverage, Hunt on Saints. For your LSU coverage, football-related, Hunt on LSU. And those can populate right there on your homepage if you do subscribe. Opened the show today with our thoughts on LSU beating North Dakota State in Game 1 yesterday. Then talked to Koki Riley from The Advocate at 1:15. He covers the team and will be up in Starkville this weekend. It was a what-if Wednesday. What if I could drive any car off this lot? Went with the Grand Wagoneer over there in the showroom, which is awesome. Nick Saban's thoughts on NIL. Stefan Karasnik on Mississippi State basketball and baseball. The Saints signing Willie Gay and restructuring Ryan Ramczyk. All of that you can find on demand. Very much looking forward to tomorrow's show. Very much looking forward to getting out to the box this evening. Everybody have an awesome, awesome Wednesday. We're back in studio tomorrow, presented by Rouse's, talking all things LSU football as well as the Saints. Have a good one. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
He's here. Anyone want a Coors Light?